Happy Friday, November 17th, 2017. My Hyroad Nano is scheduled to arrive sometime today. However, I'm leaving here shortly for the GTO or Greater Tulsa Open. We got two team sets tomorrow morning, or I guess tomorrow and then tomorrow afternoon, and then we have doubles and singles bright and early on Sunday. So I've never been to this tournament before, but it's supposed to be a pretty good time, so we'll see how it goes. I won't have any time. I won't have much time to do anything down there. We'll be in a bowling alley virtually the whole time that we're down there, but hopefully we can find some good sushi down there. If any of you watching are from Tulsa and have some recommendations on where the best sushi places are, just let me know. And I mean, if you have the time, come stop by and say hi too. I always like meeting people who watch my stuff. So my bag got predictably shuffled up a little bit with the addition of the All Out, Show Off, and the Daredevil Danger. I did indeed remove the Hyroad Pearl and the 5 1/4 inch ink, like I said I probably would on my last podcast last Friday. They just don't see a whole lot of action. The All Out's definitely my favorite of the two new ones. The Danger isn't a bad ball by any means. It's just a bit too strong for regular league conditions, and it's really strong on friction. That combination usually gives me some angle issues. I'm going to play with the cover a bit and see what happens, but it probably will go to Tulsa just for the heck of it, but might be one of those balls that just kind of goes just in case and stays in the car. So not entirely sure yet. Balls that are definitely making the cut for Tulsa are the Intense, the All Out, the Marvel Pearl, the 4-inch ink, and the Hectic. I'm trying to decide between the Danger, the Matchup Hybrid, 5 1/4 inch ink, No Rules Pearl to fill the last spot, but I'm considering just going ahead and throwing that extra bag in the trunk for the hell of it. But I mean, who takes 9 balls to a tournament on a house shot? Few updates here. Like I said, the Hyroad Nano video will be middle of next week because I won't have time to get to it until I get back on Sunday. So it'll probably be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. Anticipation is pretty high for that one. I really expect it to live up to those expectations. It's just too smart of a release not to. I have several other videos in the works, but it's likely going to be around Christmas before too much extra stuff comes out. I still have my new dual angle video coming out. I have another Tech Talk video that's ready to go. We did shoot another beer frame too that might end up being 2 episodes. I haven't started editing that yet, but we'll see what happens there. And of course I still have videos left for the Nano and the Sonic to do, but life is kind of pleasantly too busy at the moment, so I won't be putting up too many videos between now and the end of the year, but there's a reason for that, mostly being 30 miles from Canada for the first 2 weeks of December. It'll be worth the wait though, I can guarantee that. I'm trying to double down on quality again, and better videos just take more time, so I'm going to kind of reset and use my free time in Minnesota to brainstorm and figure some things out. I'll still be available for comments and questions, obviously, because my Sonic video is going to come out literally right before I leave. But better things are coming, so bear with me, and your patience will be rewarded. I thought we were going to talk World Series of Bowling today, but there's not a whole ton to talk about yet, and I've been too busy this week to follow anything anyway. I did see Liz Johnson made a show, though. That's very cool. I know the scoring pace has been higher. There's been a bit of buzz about that, but surprisingly not a whole lot of negativity. It's just being talked about. I don't think people really have strong opinions one way or the other. From my experience, though, the cream always rises to the top regardless of scoring pace. I mean, I used to be a proponent of tougher conditions across the board. You know, make it a shot-making contest instead of a carry contest. The thing is, though, the same people are always winning. The same people are always on top, and scoring is a combination of great shot-making and knowing how to get the pins down, the latter of which is a very underrated and kind of forgotten skill lately. And if you go back and watch older shows, you see a lot of really weird form and terrible ball reaction, really, and pins getting splashed everywhere, but those guys just knew how to get the pins down back then. They didn't have these high-powered bowling balls and the entry angle, the 6 degrees of entry angle or whatever. It may have been ugly, but they got it done. I mean, transition to now where everything's about making good shots and being pretty, and where people are okay with or have conditioned themselves to accept poor carry because they made a good shot, and that's what's important. Well, not really. I mean, locking the pins down is what's important. It's like people have turned into Pedro Serrano from Major League 2. There's a saying that you can't practice carry, and the more that I practice and the more I pay attention, I think that's absolutely wrong. You can practice carry. In part, I think it's a lost or forgotten skill because of how easy it is to get to the pocket on house shots. Now you can roll 6 balls in and probably hit the pocket with every single one of them. But this is where people get confused. If you hit the pocket with everything, then how do you know which ball to choose? The confusion's there because people aren't paying attention to if the ball is carrying or not. They're just making good shots and if the ball's hitting the pocket. So it's it's just a foregone conclusion that once the lights turn on and they're taking it more seriously, that the scores will just kind of follow accordingly. Never in my life have I seen so many people throw a good shot and hit the pocket and then whine that the pins didn't go down, even if the ball reaction was awful and it was horrible through the pocket. I mean, nobody pays attention to what the pins are doing anymore, and I think that that's a mistake. I can take 6 balls to league and go through 3 or 4 of them. I can throw a few strikes with one and put it right back in the bag because I didn't like the shape, or I thought it'd be rough when transition started setting in, or I just didn't like the way that the ball was going through the pins. Not all strikes are created equal, and too many people think that they are. There's too much bowling math in the industry right now. I mean, this might turn into a rant, but I hate bowling math. People try to make everything about the numbers in a game where everything constantly changes shot to shot, or they try to find different formulas or different numbers to try to calculate a bunch of stuff so that they don't have to pay attention, or because they can't pay attention, or because they think that there's some code to unlock the bowling matrix and there's not. You're not going to take course specs and layout and a surface and a lane condition and put that into a formula and get some magic answer. I'm guilty of it too, but there's very few numbers that are actually important or relevant or really tell you anything. People think certain numbers mean hard and fast things and they don't. What it boils down to most of the time is taking a ball out, throwing it at pins, seeing what happens, and then going from there. I sometimes give numbers or information because people want it, because I don't want to argue with anyone about anything, but sometimes people want things that aren't going to really help them, or that are going to confuse them, or just kind of continue to contribute to the general misinformation that the industry as a whole is allowing to exist and kind of feeding into or promoting. I don't want to do that. I want to help you improve your game the right way, and that's not going to happen through showing pictures of layouts. I mean, which is a completely wrong statement to begin with. Where the fingers go is not a layout. That's just where your fingers are at. The layout is the layout based on your positive axis point and where that in turn puts your fingers at. But people like seeing pictures because they think that it means something. I've seen some really odd positive axis points that put the fingers in some places that you would think make the ball act one way based on kind of the conventionally accepted schools of thought, but actually make the ball do something completely different. I had this girl I used to drill for that has kind of a Carolyn Doran Ballard type of game. Very smooth, but very low rev. She kind of spun it though. Her axis was 3.5 over and 1.5 inches up. So because of that, her fingers went in places that to most people would appear to be really weak layouts, when in fact they were quite strong based on her axis and where her track was as a result. I don't know how many people I argued with because, well, those are awfully weak layouts for somebody with such a low rev rate. No, actually they were really strong. You just don't know what you're talking about. Then there's how many games should I get a how many games should I get a resurface after, or a detox after, or freshen up the cover after, and whatever somebody says a number, even if it's just a general recommendation or kind of an average or something, people latch onto that number and they run with it. I don't know. I have some balls with hundreds of games on them that I haven't resurfaced, haven't detoxed, or even cleaned because they haven't told me that they needed it. I'm not going to take a ball that's reacting perfectly fine and go screw with it because, oh, well, the app on my phone says I'm at 50 games with this ball, and so I've got to go get this done. No, maybe you don't. Sometimes there's a ball reaction issue, but they haven't gotten to the magic numbers yet, so they write it off and say, well, my ball isn't hooking like it used to, but I'm not 50 games with it yet, so it can't be that it needs a resurface or a detox. Well, yeah, maybe it can. Maybe it's a porous cover. Maybe you don't use the right towel, or maybe 100 different things. At the same time, though, it's not a lot of people's fault that because this stuff's been crammed down their throats. It's just numbers, numbers, numbers everywhere, and very few people actually even understand them to begin with, let alone correctly apply them, or keep them in the proper perspective. I had some people recently tell me that they don't know how to read ball reaction or can't really see it, and I don't think that that's true. I think everyone can see it if they know what to look for or shown what to look for, but they've been taught boards and layout numbers and surfaces, and so they take something very non-mathematical and try to turn it into math. Ball reaction isn't mathematic. It can't be. You can't see the oil. The shot changes every single time a shot is thrown. You can't predict when the ball's all of a sudden going to hit friction and take off, and you can't say then, well, the ball hooked 2 boards too much, so I'll just move 2 boards further inside, and that'll take care of it. Because it probably won't, because then you've changed all kinds of other things too. You're moving out of friction, you're changing the angle, maybe that adjustment isn't the right adjustment. Maybe it's more speed, maybe you missed, maybe it's a different ball, maybe it's all kinds of things. I've seen people tug the ball 3 boards and kind of slowly back up off the approach looking confused, and then come back and say, well, they need to move. And no, what you actually need to do is pay more attention to what your ball's doing and just make a better shot next time. Just because you're targeting something doesn't mean that you actually hit it. And all those calculations going off in your head right now aren't really helping anything. Basically just say no to bowling math. I mean, the less you pay attention to the numbers, the more you actually pay attention to what's going on, the better off you'll be. Some numbers are important, some numbers are very important, but ball reaction is king, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, or sometimes there are some numbers that you don't know or haven't considered. So instead of just sitting down because you don't have all the numbers you need, just pay attention to what's going on and occasionally try something different or something that shouldn't necessarily work on paper, because bowling isn't conducted on a sheet of paper. Sometimes it seems like people get all their numbers and all their calculations done and have their plan and imagine how it's going to be, and I'm like, do you even really need to bowl at this point? I mean, just write down how you expect this to go and move on. You've already done the math, so just write down the answer and call it a day. Speaking of calling it a day, that'll probably do it for me today. I need to pack and hit the road, so wish me luck. Hopefully I can go down, at least do well enough to pay for the trip. So, Nano video up early next week, and I will still see you next Friday.